All right. Well, good morning and good afternoon, depending where you are joining us, be it in Asia, in Europe, or other parts of the world. And as I see more and more people logging in, I'd like to go over a couple of housekeeping items. Um, we are recording this presentation, so if you would like to receive a link to the video recording, please do let me know, and I'll be happy to share it with you so that you can review it at a later time, or perhaps share it with any colleagues or team members who might have missed the opportunity to join us today. And so I still see people logging in. Well, welcome. Welcome everyone to this discussion on evaluating and assessing soft skills, which are competencies that are most important to success, not only in our work, but also in our lives, right? I'd like to thank you for taking time out of your busy lives and coming to participate in our workshop. So today's webinar is brought to you by Peregrine Global Services and AMBA Association of MBAs. Peregrine Global works in close cooperation with AMBA to help provide member schools with resources and services designed towards enhancing the quality and quality assurance in business schools around the world. So let me introduce myself a little bit to you. My name is Alima, and I'm running this webinar out of my office in Tokyo, Japan. So I'm the Director of Asia and Asia Pacific Operations of Peregrine Global. I have worked as an international consultant and now in higher education and with Peregrine since, 2000s. I work on building strategic relationships with our partner institutions of higher education and um, on helping them with improving the quality, and we also work very closely with accrediting associations and organizations as attested by our partnership with AMBA. My areas of expertise and consulting work include higher education quality, training, communications, leadership development, and quality assurance and assessment. So I see we have more people logged in, wonderful, and still continue logging in. So I hope to run a somewhat of an interactive webinar today, and there are multiple ways for you to participate. Please do respond to the poll questions when they are presented. Feel free to ask a question or make a comment. Type in your question in the question panel. And if you have a question that needs immediate attention, feel free to raise your hand, and I can try to give you an opportunity to speak. And also, I will plan to leave a Q&A time at the end of the webinar to get to the questions that you might have accumulated throughout the webinar. And then if we didn't get a chance to answer all your questions, feel free to email me your questions at a later time. And my email address is listed here, jemiansuran@peregrineglobal.com. So in today's presentation, I will start my discussion with why soft skills, right? What are the challenges we face today? And what does it, mean in terms of, evaluating these soft skills, right? Developing and assessing and sustaining it. But also, what is the nexus between developing workplace readiness skills and accreditation? The next, we will talk in detail about the actual EvaluSkills, a soft skills assessment tool that we have developed as a solution to measuring your learning outcomes related to soft skills. And then we'll move on to discussing the different reports you will be able to generate as part of the EvaluSkills service and how to use the results for your continuous improvement work. How to identify the areas of weakness in your program so that you could work on improving upon the results. So as I've mentioned, I will end the presentation with a Q&A session at the end. And for those of you who have participated in our previous webinar, we have gone into more detail into defining the workplace readiness skills, which are also referred to as professional skills, right? Competencies. So here's a little refresher. So what do we mean by professional skills, right? These are a combination of people skills, social skills, communication skills, and character or personality traits that enable you to navigate your environment and work well with others. So these professional skills are career competencies that are often not taught or acquired as part of a student's academic coursework. So over the last years, as you are well aware, I'm sure, there have been countless studies, research reports, and media outlets highlighting significant skill gaps found in our workforce, right, in our recent graduates. And the workplace skills that are often referred to as soft skills, these are the personal qualities necessary for situational awareness and workplace effectiveness. Those skills include adaptability, communication, and creative thinking. So over the years, employers and higher education institutions have found difficulty in defining, evaluating, and developing these skills. So there's wealth of research and studies out there. And for example, in an employer survey conducted in 2016 by the Wall Street Journal, 92% of executives consider soft skills as equally important as technical skills. And on LinkedIn survey, the results showed that 60% of managers stated that lack of soft skills in leadership limit the company's productivity levels overall. And then there was an interesting study conducted by MIT Sloan School of Business that when soft skills training was conducted at Bangalore factories, 5 of those factories yielded a 250% return on investment. There's also a study by the Society of Human Resource Management that talks about shortage of essential skills in new graduates entering workforce. And those skills are identified as problem solving, communication, critical thinking, innovation and creativity, ability to deal with complex and ambiguous problems, and adaptability. We also know that leaders are talking about how only 25% of technical skills contribute to the success of an employee, and the 75% could be attributed to soft skills and long-term success of employees within an organization. So the skills that are most important in industry have been identified as leadership, management, and communication. You're all very aware of this, of course, and this is a 2020 Cambridge Market Intelligence study. So here comes in the interactive part of the webinar, and I would like to ask you a poll question. So please think about your individual schools, right? And do you teach, develop students' workplace soft skills as part of your academic program? Please answer the question. And as the answers come in, and more, of course, academic programs are aware that we do need to help our students to develop soft skills. And some schools are doing, are able to do more than the others. And I have 50% of the respondents answering the question. And the good news is so far, 63% of you, let me see if I can end and share the results. So 63% of you, which is good news, do have development of student soft skills as part of your academic programs. So that's really good. So then some of you may be familiar with the National Association of Colleges and Employers, an organization that forms a bridge between higher education institutions and human resource professionals. So through an interactive process involving both higher education and human resource recruiting staff at about more than 600 employers, NACE has identified 8 competencies that represent what career service professionals should be helping their students achieve, right? And what employers are broadly looking for in their ideal candidates. So we do have a lot of tools at Peregrine to help you with developing and offering you resources to assist in these professional skills. So as you can see, and as you would have expected, this is critical, thinking, problem solving, communication, teamwork, leadership, professional work ethic, career management, and global or intercultural fluency. So the next poll I would like to launch is a question as to, so as an academic program, do you have standalone, specifically designed workplace soft skills modules for teaching or developing soft skills in your students? So please answer the question. And here, it's good that you did have ways to develop these soft skills at your programs, right? But I'm curious to find out is if you actually have specifically designed and implemented particular modules that are targeted at developing these professional readiness skills. And thank you for those who are responding. And there was at some point, there was 80% of you said, no, you don't have specifically designed modules. And the numbers are now going towards 44 versus 56. So if I share the results with you, and that's pretty typical, right? We are all struggling the best ways and tools to help our students to be exposed and to get an opportunity to develop these career readiness skills. So thank you for responding to these poll questions. So there are a number of ways to develop soft skills, right? And a lot of you are very familiar, and I'm sure you're moving towards instituting experiential learning or action learning as part of your academic programs. Many business schools and programs partner very well with industry and companies to offer internships or some kind of business experience to their students. There are many workshop case studies, be it business case studies or leadership hands-on case study related workshops. You can include gamification or simulation exercises that mirror real life experiences. And you can offer various cross-program or intercultural projects. And so there are many ways for you to involve your students so they will be able to get an opportunity to develop these workplace essential skills. And actually, one example I wanted to share is I worked with a business school that is focused on accounting, and their students, and tax season is coming up. They actually set up shop within the community to assist the community members with filing their taxes. So that really gives them great opportunity to hone those skills and to work with within the community and develop their professional skills. So then let's talk about why do we need to assess soft skills, right? Here are some common reasons why we need to assess them. So we conduct assessment of learning outcomes in order to meet our programmatic or institutional accreditation requirements. It also helps to satisfy employer expectations for your program to graduating career-ready graduates, right? You also want to demonstrate attainment of career readiness competencies by your learners and graduates, but also you want to have an opportunity to provide your students with actionable feedback for continued soft skill development in your students, as well as to improve the programs that you offer to your students. And we all recognize it is hard to assess soft skills, right? It's quite difficult. And the reason is it's hard to even define and identify what are the soft skills that are required. And luckily there's wealth of research and studies and surveys out there. But at the same time, there's a lack of standard categorization, right? A lot of the times these soft skills appear to be quite one-dimensional. And the actual term soft skill itself could be quite misleading. It's hard to take subjectivity out of evaluating someone on their behavior, on the performance levels, exhibiting these different competencies. So, and every one of us has inherent bias, right? So to find objective assessments of evaluating these soft skills is quite challenging. And, also being able to provide or to get information that's helpful for the individual as well as the program is also challenging. But at the same time, there's great value in assessing, right, soft skills. When we assess, when we measure these soft skills, we can demonstrate the learning outcome requirements as well for, programmatic institutional accreditation, but also improve the employability of your students, right? And you want to develop the competencies in your students, not only to get the jobs that they apply for, but also be able to thrive in it, right? To continue on a long-term success journey. And you do want to help, you do want to enhance the long-term personal and professional development of learners with actionable feedback that drives continuous improvement efforts. And you also want to be able to get some data that helps you to understand where could be some pitfalls or weaknesses of your academic program upon which you could actually improve the performance. So here I'd like to offer another poll, and this time I would like to ask you to think about, does your institution individually assess each soft skill that students are expected to develop during their program of study? So perhaps you have a separate assessment for individual soft skills. Perhaps you assess them as part of other learning modules that you might have. Or maybe there's a combination of both. And sometimes life takes its toll, and I know you've been meaning to, but you have not been able to assess any of the soft skills that might be tied to your particular learning outcomes. And so here the results are coming in, and they're kind of moving up and down and changing. And so far, it's I've asked this question from a number of partner institutions. Thank you for responding to the poll, and let me share the results. And so far, what I see is you have a combination of both. So that's good news, 44% of you. But at some point this week, do not currently assess soft skills. Number was at 35%. But with your group, it did go down to 22%. So, so that's, pretty typical of what I see. And most often, as you see in this result, is soft skills get assessed as part of overall bigger assessment, right? And then separate assessment that is being conducted at your programs for soft skills specifically is at 11%. So that's pretty much expected. So for those of you, so I think if you have questions, I'm kind of monitoring the chat box as well as if anyone is raising hands. So please feel free to type them in or raise your hand. So let's see, did I skip any? So one of the reasons, as I've mentioned, we assess soft skills was for meeting accreditation standards and criteria set out by your quality assurance agencies, right? Along with, of course, helping your students to become employable. But I wanted to bring your attention to the fact that as with all of our assessment services, EvaluSkills also fulfills this accreditation nexus, right? And here at Peregrine, as I've mentioned earlier, we work very closely with many accreditation agencies, be it specialized programmatic accreditors like AMBA, Association of MBAs, or institutional national accreditors in the US like WASC and NEASC you may be working with. So I'm sure you're all familiar with AMBA's Principle 6 as part of the MBA accreditation criteria. And it clearly states in the principle that students should develop leadership, teamwork, critical thinking, decision-making, lifelong learning, integrity, cross-cultural effectiveness, global citizenship, and business ethics areas, right? And then just wanted to bring to your attention when it comes to WASC, this is a US national institutional accreditor. It states that it's imperative of academic institutions to conduct assessment of learning, right? But they do stress that most importantly, the assessment results need to be used for making improvements in the program and learning of students, and be incorporated into making academic planning and decision-making processes. So here I'd like to introduce you to a very exciting solution that Peregrine has developed, a tool for measuring and developing soft skills. And before I delve into it, I'd like to share a little bit of our history for those of you who may not be as familiar with Peregrine. So Peregrine began as Leadership Institute, providing in-person workshops and one-on-one coaching and mentoring to develop new leaders, and that was all within industry. So part of the leadership program was developing self-awareness through 360-degree evaluations. And over the years, we recognized there was a need in higher education for this kind of soft skill assessment. So we adapted the concept of our 360-degree evaluation used in industry to provide students with valuable feedback on their interpersonal skills. So in the previous poll question, some of you reported that, actually 22%, that you do not currently have a way to assess soft skills, right? So here, EvaluSkills would help you to fill in that gap. So what is EvaluSkills? It is an online tool that encompasses a 360-degree evaluation process, and it utilizes the perspectives of evaluators. So in our case, the participants are the students who are seeking feedback from their evaluators. And the evaluators could be their professors, instructors, faculty or staff members, academic advisors. It could be their peers. And if they've had internships, it could also be their supervisors and colleagues. If the students are enrolled in an MBA program or an executive MBA, then they'll have a larger pool to select and welcome them to be their evaluators. So those could be up and down at different levels of the organizations with him a student might have worked, including supervisors, colleagues, and so forth. So now the feedback is given as an objective measure of the student's competency level in each of the soft skills that you select as relating to your learning outcomes or your learning goals. Now, the evaluation process allows you to understand the areas of strength and opportunities for improvement using comprehensive results reports, and you will be able to develop action plans for continued personal growth of the students, or also for the entire program. So let's go through some definitions so that we're on the same page when we start discussing the features and capabilities of this service, right? So the assessment items are the list of soft skills you can choose from that would match up with your learning outcomes. So as I've mentioned in the NACE competencies, this National Association of Colleges and Employers, they have identified, for example, communication, teamwork, collaboration, global intercultural fluency, right? Conflict management, critical thinking, problem solving, just to name some as competencies that students need in order to become successful in their professional careers. So if any of these relate to your learning outcomes and you want to measure them, those are the skills you would select as assessment items. The next, we have the instrument template, and we already have pre-made about, many instrument samples. So it could have, there are somewhere 8 to 12 examples of soft skill assessment items that you could use as a template, or of course you can create your own. So once you like the templates that you have selected from the created list, you can add your participants to the assessment and give it a due date. And then we call that an assessment, right? And the cycle of assessment could begin at that point. Now, the participants are the people who are looking to receive feedback on their performance. And the evaluators are the team of people that have been chosen to evaluate and give that well-rounded feedback to the participant. So once the assessment is completed, the reports are available for you, and they're available for both the individual as a participant and also for the group as a whole. If your academic administrator is looking to see where the strengths and weaknesses are in your entire program. So one of the services, one of the benefits of the service is that it is flexible and customizable, right? We have a database of 200 plus soft skills available to you. And each of these soft skills has its own evaluation rubric. It comes with its own definition and statements for different levels of behavior corresponding to 1 through 5 rankings. So sample behaviors are given to go along with each skill, and that in turn gives evaluators a greater sense of what is meant by competent, right? Or what is meant by exceeds expectation. You are, of course, also able to write and develop your own soft skills and rubrics, and we're more than happy to upload them to our platform. And but with the database of 200 plus skills, I doubt that we are missing anything. So how do you create your instrument, right? So my colleague Christina came up with this great pizza analogy for creating instruments. So, when you order pizza, restaurants have various menus, right? You can pre-order an existing pizza, meat lovers is my case, or vegetarian or vegan. But in EvaluSkills, the ingredients are the assessment items. So sometimes you want to add more pepperoni, more olives to your pizza, or maybe you like pineapples. So those would be the individual skills you want to assess. So for example, dependability, innovation, or critical thinking. And to make your own pizza, you can choose from available instrument templates or create a custom pizza with the ingredients that only you and only you like. So as I mentioned, you can either, browse through available instrument templates or create your own by selecting from the database of 200 plus skills. And then you can run this instrument report after you select and create your instrument to see which items have been included and what are the rubrics that go with each of the different assessment items, right? You can, add or delete, you can make some changes and adjustments. And then once you complete that process, you can create assessment button and you got your own template. So once you've created your instrument, right, you've got it just the way you like it with all the assessment items that you need. You have the ability to download that as a PDF. And then you can read through it and see how they complement each other. Or if you wanted to share this report with your colleagues and check if you have included all the learning outcomes that, relevant for your program and so forth. And also if the participants or the evaluators, they want to see what they're working with, they can download this instrument report and review each assessment item, right? They can see how its individual items are defined and what behaviors are associated with excellent performance, competent performance, or unsatisfactory performance. All right, so we have talked about the difficulty of having an assessment tool that is objective, right? Especially in evaluating soft skills. Now, the rubrics will assist you in measuring items that usually feel quite intangible, right? Let's see if I have any questions. Okay. But as I've mentioned, each assessment item comes with its own rubric of statements and sample behaviors that helps you to take away that individual bias and subjectivity of the evaluator. So here's an example of critical thinking and problem solving skill. And as I mentioned, there's the ranking, there's the sample behavior, and there's the scaling. And so it really provides you with good guidance and try to provide an evaluation that is, quite consistent. And as an evaluator, you will have an opportunity to also give a written feedback. But you should know that all the feedback is anonymous, right? So the participant will not know who has given what feedback. They'll just collect a list of comments by the evaluators, but then it helps them to really understand where they are doing well, where they might be maybe not doing as well as they could have. But most importantly, it helps them to, get on the way to develop the professional skills that may not be as adapted. So as with all of our other services, when you sign up to use EvaluSkills, you get an access to use our administrative site, and that allows you to really easily manage the process, and you get full access to all your individual students' results and the group results. The authorized administrator from your school can manage this process, right? They can go in and add participants. They can also add evaluators for different people. They can manage various instruments to address depending different needs of your groups of participants. The administrator can monitor the progress to see how it's going and track live progress of evaluations. And also through this really easy to use interface, you'll be able to generate the reports and run comparative reports, right? Demonstrating improvement over time. So as for choosing evaluators, there are a couple options here. Most often, it's the participants who identify their evaluators. They think carefully and critically as to whom to ask to provide feedback to their performance. Sometimes, instructors or faculty assign evaluators for each participant. And because this is a 360-degree based evaluation that is, based on individual feedback of evaluators, we ask that you have at a minimum 2 to 3 or 5 evaluators for each individual participant. And you can also, of course, use a combination of both. Have participants identify 2 to 3 evaluators, and then maybe you can also assign a couple more, especially if your students are involved in internship or some kind of business experience where internship facilitators or supervisors would provide valuable feedback. So once the administrator has gone through the assessments, process and cycle with a group of participants, they can track the results over time. Now this graphic I'm showing right now shows progress at 2 different points in time. And this could also be 2 separate cohorts if you wanted to see how well each group is performing against the other, right? And each program has its own unique set of soft skills that might be most appropriate for your graduates, right? There's a certain soft skills might be more relevant for a program that's a marketing program. For example, creativity in innovation, right? Whereas attention to detail might be a bit more of a focus in your accounting program. So here you can really compare the results and performance and see, if your incoming MBA students' performance, how that compares to those who have graduated from the program or to those who have gone through some internship experiences and so forth. All right, so I need to speed up a little bit because there's a lot of content and I want to make sure I get to the reporting and the application. So the participants, right? The participants, they have skin in the game. They have some homework to do. They need to log in into the platform. They need to upload their picture so that evaluators can have a visual for who they are evaluating, right? If they ask, they need to choose their evaluators critically and carefully. And trying to choose a variety of people at different organizational levels. They can also, of course, run the instrument report to see what skills they're being evaluated on. And then they also completed self-evaluation, right? Which is a really great tool built into it. And then self-evaluation scores are not included in the participant report or the group report. And but the good thing is they get this experience of being involved in introspection, right? Evaluate themselves and try to understand better themselves. And I was talking to one of the directors of a business program based in Asia, and he actually really liked this idea that his students have not been exposed to not only evaluating themselves, but also evaluating their peers too. So there's a great discussion of, providing with these, professional skills while they are conducting the soft skills assessment. Once the assessment is closed, of course, participants can run an assessment, the participant report, and to see, where their average score of themselves rank relative to the averages of the evaluators, but also average of the group. And within the participant report, we have a built-in action plan for personal and professional development. I'll show you that shortly. So here's a snapshot of the participants dashboard, and here they can change the status of any pending assessments, run a report on their individual results, and download a copy of the assessment instruments, as I've mentioned earlier. So each evaluator will also have its own login dashboard, and they'll get the invitation, email invitation, once someone has asked them to be their evaluator. And they'll create an account, set their password. But the nice thing about this is all automated. This is a very easy and friendly to use platform. And then evaluator can view my evaluations tab on the dashboard, where they can see all pending and completed evaluations. So it's a streamlined process, makes it really easy for the evaluator to complete and to keep track of different evaluations in case they evaluate multiple students, right? Again, they can run the instrument report here to download and kind of review the rubrics for each item. And they can also of course, evaluate the participant and submit their evaluations. But the feature that I like is they can review previously submitted evaluations, right? To make sure that they're consistent across the board. And maybe once you're more familiar with the instrument, you have developed and gotten into better understanding of different rankings, right? So perhaps you want to make sure that you are more cohesive in the way you are evaluating different students. So this is pretty self-explanatory. Here's an example of a skill that does not play favorites, and then it gives you the skill, and then it gives you what is a sample behavior exhibited by the participant, and you can compare that against the statement in order to provide a proper ranking for that individual student. So the evaluator, as I mentioned, can review and add comments prior to submitting the evaluation. And then once the minimum number of evaluations has been completed for the participant can generate the individual results report. As I mentioned, all results are confidential, and you cannot associate any particular comment to a particular evaluator. So we help you to give you an instrument that's quite helpful. So the EvaluSkills, so we are as Peregrine known for our reporting capabilities, right? What good is conducting assessment if you don't have actionable data that you could use for your continuous improvement processes or for, making changes to your program, again, with an eye to improve the results and the performance. So with EvaluSkills, we'll offer you both a participant and a group report. So it gives individuals a greater understanding of their strengths and weaknesses, right? And offer a snapshot of the group's performance on intended learning outcomes. And as I mentioned, there's a action plan report that is built into the individual participant report. So here's participant reports and a sample of a page of a participant report, which allows learners to see how others view their interpersonal skills, how others provide valuable insight into areas for improvement, right? And help them, the learners, to potentially succeed in the workplace. For each competency, participants can compare their self-assessed scores against the scores given by external evaluators, which shows where there might be, so there might be some, of course, blind spots on the participants and relative to how others perceive them, right? So in this example, blue line shows the participant's average score. So making it easy to highlight relative strengths and areas of improvement for the participant. So there's, for example, global awareness is above average, excellent. So this person is exhibiting a really high level of curiosity, good job. But there might be some areas worth looking at. There's knowledge of management, and there's emotional intelligence. So these comprehensive reports that are generated for the student, provide some really good insight into where or what areas participants could focus on in order to mitigate these areas. All right, here's an example of another page of a participant report. And it shows for each skill, so this is a emotional intelligence as a competency. So this shows that, participant self-score was 4.0. The evaluated average was 3.8. But as a group, this group does pretty well in terms of the group average, 4.15. So the participant self-score was a little higher than the evaluator's average for them, right? And at the same time, lower than the group average. So again, this provides with an opportunity to kind of focus and work on for the participant. So at the end of the participant report, students will have the action plan, right? This action plan is something that students can take with them beyond their higher education journey to inform their behavior as they navigate the workforce and life. And this action plan provides an opportunity for reflection and a tool to sustain strengths and mitigate weaknesses. And the nice thing about this action plan is students enter what activities, what tasks specifically they plan to take in order to mitigate perceived weaknesses, right? But also it asks for timeline. It asks for a name of a person to hold them accountable. So an action plan is great, but unless you really can make it actionable, make it accountable, it just stays as a plan. So that's what I was mentioning, that, for example, part of the action plan, you get an opportunity to get this really good interactive page with what do students intend specifically to do in order to improve upon the results, right? So that's the page I've just mentioned. All right, so group reports, right? For the group reports, they provide information about the overall strengths and developmental areas of a particular academic program, right? Or it could be a student cohort group. Also, I should mention that we have a number of organizations that are using as part of a staff development tool, this EvaluSkills assessment. So now the group reports information contained in it can be valuable in planning curriculum changes, right? Or identifying the developmental needs of a particular group. So using pre-tests and post-tests helps you to measure improvement in workplace readiness skills and can illustrate how a program has influenced the development of those skills over time. So also in group reports, you can see who are my top performers, who are the students who might be lagging, and who could use assistance or individual attention. So here's an example, another example of a group report where they are listed in ranking order. So you can clearly and easily see where your group might have strengths and where they could actually could use some assistance with the highest to lowest score being, for example, accountability and value and diversity going to a lower ranking. All right, so there are different options for implementing EvaluSkills into your programs, right? You can use it for your graduating undergraduate students. So these are undergraduate students who are about to graduate and enter the job market. You can conduct the assessment at the end of the academic program for programmatic evaluation. And then, as I mentioned, students receive an action plan, which they can carry on with them to the job or next career and continue throughout their journey. For the graduate students who are enrolled in master's or doctoral programs, who are about to, again, graduate, re-enter the job market, advance in their careers, you can offer them as a pre-program and post-program assessment to directly measure learning outcomes. The action plan for the pre-program assessment is used by the students for skill development throughout their academic degree program. And then at the end of the program, they can see how successful your program has been in helping the students achieve their goals. As I mentioned, there are a number of organizations that use our 360 assessment for staff and faculty development, focusing on the mission, vision, and values of the organization. I'm very excited to share with you that we have just published a white paper on EvaluSkills. You can find it on our website, and there's a link. And then in this sort of white paper, we have two organizations represented. One is Wyższa Szkoła Bankowa in Gdańsk, WSB Gdańsk is how we refer to them. They launched it in 2019. We also have a partner organization, Mountain West Credit Union Association, also pilot the EvaluSkills in 2020. So both of these organizations employed a pre and post-test construct for the first case for the students and the second for employee evaluations. In the case of Gdańsk, EvaluSkills was used to evaluate learning outcomes for an 18-month executive MBA leadership program. In the case of the Mountain West Credit Union, EvaluSkills was used to evaluate learning outcomes for an 8-month leadership development program for mid-career union professionals. So if you want to learn more about it, feel free to go and read the white paper from our website, or I'll be happy to send you the link. So in conclusion, let's see if I have any questions. We'll get there. So in conclusion, having, just kind of to rehash what we've discussed about, having a flexible, customizable assessment instrument provides you with an assessment that is mapped to your learning outcomes, right? And to the competencies that are relevant to your particular program. As I've mentioned, you can add your own items, or in the case of the WSB Gdańsk, that's a program based out of Poland. They actually have translated the instrument into Polish, so that's a possibility too. Now, of course, having standardized rubrics, as we've discussed, is critical to that objectivity and consistency of evaluations. And an ability for the administrator that you as a program have designated, providing them with an opportunity to manage the process through admin site saves you valuable time and resources through automation and ease of administration of the assessment, right? And then also provides you with an ability to access all your data and results and generate the reports whenever you'd need them. And of course, we have a team of excellent client engagement managers who are happy to guide you and assist you in the process. So never hesitate to contact us whenever you need assistance. We talked about the participant action plans, which are imperative to identifying blind spots, right? Helping to mitigate them and helping the students to sustain strengths and improve upon weaknesses identified in the participant report. And then as for the group reports, they provide information about the overall strengths and developmental areas of your academic program, or perhaps your student cohort group, or if you are using it for your faculty and staff development, then your organization. Now, this information can be valuable in planning curriculum changes, as we've discussed, or identifying the developmental needs of a particular group. So additionally, using pre-tests and post-tests to measure improvement in career readiness skills, soft skills, can illustrate how a program has influenced the development of those skills over time. So as you have seen in the announcement for the webinar, we are offering you as a gift, as a token of appreciation for spending this time with us, a free access to EvaluSkills. And so please do let me know if you would like to receive that. And here I would like to launch my last poll question before I open the floor for Q&A. And that is, how can we help you, right? What do you need from us? Again, I'll be happy to provide you with free access to EvaluSkills and link to the white paper, which is available on our website. Please answer the questions. And then we can also schedule a call or a meeting to discuss either EvaluSkills specifically, or if you need any assistance with putting your assessment plan together, with designing and developing your learning outcomes for different programs. I'd be more than happy to schedule that with you. And if you want to receive more just information about our solutions, please do let me know, and I'd be happy to continue sending you information about solutions that Peregrine offers to our partner institutions. So thank you very much. And thank you. I'd like to end the polling, and there's no need to. So again, thank you very much for joining us. I'd like to thank Amba, Emily, for being a great partner in this endeavor to help you with understanding more and helping you meet the challenges that you have faced. And today we were talking about soft skills, developing and assessing soft skills in our learners and our students and our graduates. So if you have any questions, please feel free to type them into the chat box or to ask them. This is my email address. I know I have a very easy to spell last name, Jamian Saran at Peregrine Global. You can also find me on our website, peregrineglobal.com. And I'd be more than happy to put our brains together as to how better serve your students in developing career readiness skills and professional competencies. Oh, there's a question. How would you comment or advise on assessment for online classes? That's an excellent question. And because the tool itself is offered online, this is very conducive to online instruction. You will be, of course, conducting the creation of the instrument and the instructions for the evaluators, for the participants online. But at the same time, as long as you equip your learners with good information and the evaluators with good information, which we all provide for you, they'll be able to conduct everything in an online environment. More thought needs to be put into selecting the proper evaluators. I would recommend for undergraduate students anywhere from 2 to 3 to 4, 5 evaluators to get some good information. 3 would be minimum. But if you have an MBA program or executive MBA, you'll have probably larger pool to select by your participants to provide feedback to them. So does that answer your question? Thank you. It's interesting. I was just talking to a school here in Tokyo, and then their MBA program is very much, it's very much internship based. They have a 6-month internship, and because of COVID,